Hello, folks. Welcome for coming to our hot seat challenge today. As normal, we start a little bit early because some people like to sign in early. So we'll do the formal reboot in another few minutes. But we start early to get our servers warmed up. And again, I'm going to introduce Michelle Beetle Holder. Am I saying that night correctly, Beetle? Okay.
Yeah, Beetle. Yes.
Right. For the moment, just to get things warmed up, we like to remind you that if you're seeing us for the first time, thank you. And we're going to repeat this again on the hour, which is where we are now. So let me restart. Hi, folks. I'm Joe Wesley of Hot Seat Challenge for Enhanced Success. Thank you for coming back. For those who are coming back for more than one time, for those of you who are visiting us for the first time, we thank you for that. Before I go further, I'd like to introduce my guest. And
I'm Michelle Beetle Holder. Hi, everyone.
hi, Michelle. Thank you for joining us. I don't know why I say joining us today. Yes, us and the audience. I'll say it
Yeah.
like that. For
Yeah.
those who are seeing us for the first time, the way this works is the theme is, are you prepared to take your hot seat challenge to discover an ingredient of your secret sauce for enhanced business success? And the concept there, everybody who has their own business is trying to stand out from the competition. But we talk more with bullet points of what we do. Well, I went to Yale, they went to Harvard, I've got 10 years experience, they got 30 years experience. There's always somebody can overtalk or will try to overtalk what you do for business. However, there's only one Michelle Beetle Holder, PhD in the whole wide world. And there's something unique about her that she has yet to discover, perhaps, if I'm good at what I do, discovering your secret sauce. And my bullet line is, I don't claim that I see dead people, but I will discover things about you you've yet to discover about yourself that gives you a distinct advantage in your ideal market. And again, I call that your secret sauce. And I start off with the first 20 minutes of our 30-minute session. I'm asking Michelle at some point, what's your favorite pastime? And then having done that, then we'll talk about her business in the last 10 minutes and how who she is as a persona, as a passion, will give unique value to her business for you in the audience that will say, hey, she's the one I need to go to provide value to your market, your business, whatever it may be. So I'm going to start off, Michelle, by asking you, what's your favorite pastime?
I like being in nature.
Okay.
I like being in nature. And I tell people that that's probably because of where I was born.
Where
I was
were you
born,
born?
I was born in Jamaica, the West
Ah,
Indies,
okay.
Caribbean, and
So not Jamaica, New York then.
not Jamaica, not Jamaica, New York, but Jamaica, West Indies, and the Caribbean. And I was born like very close to Negril. So if you know
Okay.
anything about Jamaica, Negril, between Negril and Montego Bay. And I spent most of my time in outside, kind of looking at trees,
Mhm.
looking at plants. We had like I grew up kind of in the country area,
Okay.
and just having trees around me, being in a garden. I just get lost in it, and I feel
I
most
hear that.
comfortable there.
Now, let me ask you this. I'm a city slicker, so I've got to ask these questions. That when you say you enjoyed Mother Nature, was you the kind of person that would collect flowers or climb trees or lay in the grass and look at the sky? How did you relate to Mother Nature?
I mostly would go looking for stuff to eat.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I love fruit. And my grandmother, my mother's mom, would say, she told me
I'm sorry,
once,
your grandmother, what again?
my grandmother, my mother's mom, my maternal grandmother, she once told me that I would prefer to eat fruit over breakfast.
Ah,
And 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 I thought about it, and I'm like, that's true, because whenever I was at my grandmother's house, she had these big mango trees, and I would like wake up and listen to hear the mangoes drop during mango season.
interesting.
And my grandmother had orange trees. She had all the fruit trees. So I love going to my grandmother's house.
Right.
And then my parents also would plant trees in our yard.
Mm-hmm.
One of the first things my dad got when we got our new house was he planted an orange tree, and I would just go out there, and you'd see the dew on the ground every morning. I had a ritual of
Right.
like eating my breakfast, and I would go outside and I would smell the aroma of morning time and see the dew on the ground and on the leaves and the blooms and the fruit, and that was me in my element.
Fair
I
enough.
I
Now
have a
I'm intrigued if I can interrupt. Most this is my sound misogynist, ladies, and I apologize for this, but I've always been led to believe that girls are picky eaters at a certain stage of their life. You don't sound like you were like that.
I was a picky. I was.
Okay.
So I had my fruit. I was the pickiest of eaters. So I'm from a family of twins. So
Ah.
I'm the first of two sets of twins.
Oh
My
my.
brother, yeah, my brother, I have my partner's a boy. And he would I would give him my food. Like I would say, Mike, you want this? Help me out. And I would give him my food and he would eat. He had a good appetite, thank God, because
Yeah, guys tend to have that.
yeah, he got me out of trouble a lot of times. But I think that's because I wasn't hungry. I was eating all the fruit.
Well, nothing wrong with that. And I should also make a mention, folks. I keep looking down every now and then. I have a notepad and I make notes because at some point I'm going to refer back to them. I have a mind like a sieve. So I just want to apologize when I'm looking down, making notes. So you enjoyed eating, you enjoyed food. Now, rephrase that. It just occurred to me to ask this question. Did you enjoy food, your preference, or did you enjoy eating for the sake of eating? Or is there a difference for you growing up?
Mm, I was a picky eater,
Okay.
but I liked what I liked. So,
You had a
uh,
passion for what you liked.
yes.
Okay.
So if you gave me something that I liked, I would eat it all.
Hmm.
If you didn't, then I wouldn't. I was pretty
Right.
stubborn. But the older I got, the more I would say my palate expanded or became more developed. So I'm not so much of a picky eater anymore.
Right.
Actually love to explore and taste different foods. So
Now, why is that? Now, let me rephrase that differently. There's several types of people when they go out to eat. One to just or order out in today's world, I guess, when I think about it. Some people eat to live.
oh,
They don't cook, they don't this, they don't that. So they'll order the same thing as a routine. Others eat for the experience of it. Others eat for the different factors of it. Others eat to do something differently. If I had to, and there may be other variations. Do you have a slot, if any, that you fall into that fits more who you are?
I eat for pleasure.
Oh, okay. I like that. You
I
smile when you say it too, by the way.
Oh yeah,
So
I
I
eat
think it's
for
a committed
joy.
flavor.
I eat
And
I
then
eat
what is it pleasurable that you experience in the eating?
I have a I especially like food that's fresh. So the whole process, I have a garden, so I
Right.
continue that tradition of planting foods
Okay.
and flowers and just being in nature. So I enjoy the senses, right?
Hmm.
Engaging my senses and touching the tactile, all of that, anything that has to do with the senses. And so I think that's perhaps why I like it so much. Like I like um flavor is important to me.
I hear. Why is it important to you?
I feel that one of the great things about being human is that we get to experience the world through our senses.
Okay.
That often, I'm an academic, like I have an academic background, and so I like the intellectual parts of just experiencing the world.
Right.
And for many years, I think I got too much in my head.
Got too much of what again?
Got too much in my head, like was always thinking or
Okay.
developing concepts, or I used to teach in at the university level. Uh, but I
Well, let
think
me ask you this: Does eating is eating a catharsis? Then is it an escape? Is it an alternate lifestyle? You say you eat for pleasure.
Mm.
And if I'm hearing that correctly, but it sounds like it may or may not be more than that also. It's an alternative life. Rephrase that. I know a guy that does a lot of carpentry, perhaps for a profession. But to get away from that, he goes sailing because something completely different that gives him pleasure. Now, are you that kind of sailor persona in eating, or is it more complicated than that?
I think it's more complicated than that.
Okay, in what way?
I think that one, food connects you to your body.
Okay,
It connects you to your identity.
okay,
Uh, it connects you to culture.
okay,
It connects you to nature.
right.
It's we you can almost experience, food from all different. It's also used as metaphors
Mm-hmm.
to talk about life in general because everyone eats. So
Right.
the deepest metaphors I think have food in them
Mm-hmm.
as stories. Uh, so for me, there are layers to it.
Okay. Would you say each meal is a story for you that you present on average?
Hmm.
Or pardon?
You said say that one more
No,
time.
I was asking. You say you're talking about telling a story.
Oh yeah.
So the issue of eating, does that in itself provide a story for you to to experience? I'm not sure I'm asking the question well.
Oh yeah. Uh, so I was just thinking about uh, there's a show. There's a book that just came out called Black Cake.
Right?
I don't know if you've heard of it. It
No.
might be a New York bestseller by now. They also have a movie or a series on Hulu about that book,
Okay.
and uh, it, it's it's it, it's a cake that's eaten throughout the Caribbean during Christmas time,
Mm-hmm.
and the story is much more complicated than the food itself. It
Okay.
actually ties the children and their mom to a deeper culture. I haven't read the book yet, and I haven't really seen the movie, but I'm
Right.
looking forward to the story that develops with it. I think uh, for me, it's a food is kind of like an opportunity for self discovery. And with self discovery, they're like stories. And
Right.
you ask me about my pastime, and I tell you I like to be in nature. Another pastime of mine is our stories.
Right.
And I like stories around food. In fact, I wrote a poem. I don't know if you want to hear the poem, because I
Well, let me ask you this. I'm going to say yes, but I'm going to shift our focus
yeah.
from your passion to the path to where you are now, your journey. So let's use your poem as a starting point. Yes.
Okay. So my poem is called Freedom to Be.
Okay.
It goes, I'm drawn to simple things like nature, plants, flowers, colors, being free. I love, just absolutely love to listen to the stories that food tells. Listening to discover pieces of me, my family, history, culture, the world around me. Giving voice, catching words, nourishing words of self affirmation, moment by moment, daily writing, speaking, gently releasing, spoon filled lies, transforming, slowly transforming. Release, I say releasing, daily spoon filled lies. Dislodging from my body guilt, shame, blame. Releasing, I say releasing, justification of deservedness or permission to be, to serve me before serving the world. Releasing the structures that constrain me. So that's it.
My.
That I think uh, really gets to the essence because I think sometimes it's really difficult to express feelings, and I think poems get to the heart of it all.
Right.
And at this moment in time when I wrote this poem, I was trying to express something that was within me that I couldn't I couldn't express through traditional prose, like traditional, I don't know, without the art.
Right.
Uh, I found essays and um, speeches and the like really limiting because I think poems get to the emotions.
Mm-hmm.
It like cuts away at all the unnecessary words.
I
uh,
get that.
and yeah, I said that this stories, nature, eh, culture is kind of like a an opportunity for me to rediscover who I am.
Right.
Uh,
Well, let me ask
especially
you
as an
this. I hear
immigrant.
what you're saying. Excuse my looking down, making notes. Folks, when I first showed my paper, that is making a note on is a blank piece of paper. It's completely filled up now. So
Oh,
it's been a busy moment for me. You offer a lot of ingredients, I'll say that. So what is that you currently do that you want to
well,
talk about?
I think I use food as a tool to build connections, promote health, and celebrate culture.
Okay.
And I think that um, maybe part of the difficulties, like because I use food as my tool, uh, people typically think of me as like a chef or a caterer,
Mm-hmm.
and none of those things really resonates with me, who I am and what I'm trying to do.
Right.
At the heart, I studied anthropology and sociology in college, in graduate school. And so the way that I see like food as being as being a tool to bring people together
Mm-hmm.
in a way that no other thing does,
Right.
I think is really powerful. I think I had a very difficult time kind of expressing that because I think people, when I say food, okay, they're like, "What? Where's the recipe?"
Ah,
And it was kind of hard to say. Well, I just want to talk about the story and
right.
and the connection part of food, or maybe how we separate ourselves with food, and so
So
um,
when you do what you're doing, what is it you want? What is it you provide in service to your market?
I do cooking, and actually, I'm going through a process right now
I'm
where
going to interrupt. Let me backtrack. I'm a potential client,
yeah,
and I don't think you're going to come to me necessarily and say, "Hey, I cook. Would you like to have my services?" You have a business,
uh-huh.
and I understand, and we'll talk more about how the cooking is involved with it. But why would I want to use you? What would I need to justify using you as an agent for my need? What do you provide for me?
So in many ways, it's about wellness, right?
Okay.
Health and wellness.
All right.
And so for me, I would say that I'll help you to use food in a way that will help you to live a healthier and happier life,
Ah.
right? Uh, and I think that's like at the crux of it all, what
Hmm.
I would do. Um, yeah.
Okay. I hear
And
that.
you are your company to help like people that work for you or for you yourself to see.
Now, you say wellness, and that can be any number of things. It could be emotional, physical, um, thinking, and the different types of wellness providers. Let me say it like that. So, and I'm going to be brutally distracting, then come back and say it from a different angle. If I'm talking about wanting to be a better person in my life, is it focused on losing weight? Is it focused on having a healthier job environment? Is it a human relationship environment? Is there a specific focus, or is it any and all of the above?
I like to take a holistic approach and more tailored approach. I
Okay.
think that people know what they want,
Hmm.
right?
Well,
What's the
excuse me,
one?
you're more generous than I am. I'm not sure people do know what they want, but
Well,
I would defer to your expertise in what you do.
yeah,
And maybe they come to you because they don't know what they want. Well, rephrase that. They want a better life. They want to be more successful, but they
right.
don't really know what they want
Yeah.
to get there.
Yeah.
Perhaps that's what I'm hearing. But
Yeah.
that's my perspective. Is that your perspective?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that people want to be happy.
Okay, I hear that.
At the
From that
at the
definition, I
heart
get that. And they may not know what happiness means, though. Perhaps maybe
right.
that's why
They
they're
may not
always
know, but they have a
miserable.
nice
Perhaps to go the
yeah.
other extreme. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to share some observations, and the issue of wellness, it always gets me weird format. I'm not necessarily a wellness persona. I understand the philosophy of it. Like I said, I'm a left brain kind of guy versus the right brain thing. And when I see shining candles and twinkling lights and soft voices saying, "We're going to make you a better human being," I don't necessarily readily buy it. That's just my bias.
Mhm.
However, there are a lot of people who provide themselves as being holistic coaches and wellness coaches. They've had varying degrees of training. Some are more difficult to achieve, perhaps, and goal than others, perhaps. And they're very dedicated to what they do with varying degrees of skill. And for us left brain types who don't quite understand the concept of it, it's overwhelming already as it is. And then it's hard to make the nuanced differences of potential value for a coach. Yes, I want to be more successful. Many guys will say, like ladies might more likely say, I want to be happier. Ultimately, we want what we want, maybe not being sure about it. Having said that, anybody can claim who's in that industry as an agent can say, well, I'm a wellness coach and hire me. But what I see with you is a legacy. And I'm going to start the end of it and then work my way backwards. To use a metaphor, many people who like to sew, perhaps, will say, well, I'm a seamstress. I like to sew a sweater. I like to sew a scarf or knit, perhaps better put. Nothing wrong with that as a business. But what I see you is more like a designer, a clothing designer, than simply a seamstress. And I'm not negating the value of a seamstress. At some point, it's got to be sewn. But what I'm seeing here is a young lady growing up who, because of the nature of her environment, was at peace with the environment, you might say, embraced it, enjoyed it, and didn't take it for granted that even as a young lady who was even a picky eater, you had your preferences. You were able to negotiate off the things that you didn't necessarily want to be bothered with eating. Lucky for you to have a brother who was happy to accommodate you, but guys are like that anyway. So that's
Mhm.
the way it works. But having said that, you didn't take it for granted. You pursued it. And when I'm particularly intrigued by and I enjoy is that you eat for the pleasure of it. Now, I don't mean like a glutton, because some
I
people
like
eat it for
savor. I like
that. Some
savor.
people, right? But for you, it's a challenge of the senses. There's a clear left brain factor to it. I'm looking down at my notes when I'm pausing down. You talk about the tactile sense, the presence, the presentation. It's not just does it taste good or not. It has to be attractive. It has to taste good. Maybe as you pick it up in your hand, as it crumbles in your mouth, whatever it may be, the flavor of it, the aroma of it. You take a very intricate approach to the concept of engagement of eating. I say deliberately engagement of eating as opposed to simply eating. So we're back again to the metaphor of being a designer, a clothing designer, rather than a seamstress, and how that might work. And the point I make here, and I have to find my note again, is you say you gave your poetry, and one of the things you talked about why you prefer poetry than straight prose. You can drop off the unnecessary words in there that get in the way, that dilute out the value of what you're trying to say. I suspect your cooking works in the same manner. That is very specific, that has each wording, the combination of the poetry itself Uh, Sometimes it follows a pattern, sometimes it doesn't, but the story is told. And I suspect your cooking works in the same manner, and how you pull the different flavors together to make the poetry work very well for you. And it expresses your feelings, as you say. It expresses your emotions. And again, looking at my notes, that's why I'm looking down. So the concept here is cut through the garbage. And as I'm saying it, it hits me. I like that. So get rid of the things that are going to slow you down, is going to give you unnecessary weight, going to have a bad impact on your emotional think at the moment. Let's focus on the purity of the concept of the meal, the cooking, the art form of it. So I think it's more than just the outcome, it's getting the engagement of it, focusing in a very clear manner to make it happen. I've been rambling for a long time, so I got to ask you, am I far off the point on this, or how am I doing so far?
You're doing pretty good.
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate that. So I have to say this. Oh, commercial break. Folks, first off, I think I'm very good at what I do here. I have finding an ingredient of your secret sauce. And I'm finding it intriguing. I'm going to digress a little bit. That as a person that cooks, I'm not sure how you would, well, you say a wellness coach. Is that a fair statement in generic sense? Or is it a different flavor of statement you would make behind that? Because you're not, I see you're not
I
a
would
chef. That's not
say
the
that,
purpose.
yeah, I mean, you
Pardon?
could use a coach. You could use a coach. You could use,
Okay.
I like this, a coach is kind of like a guide. I like to have people, you know, I don't like to impose
Mm-hmm.
my what what I want onto people. I want you to find your, like you say, your own secret sauce. Like I want you to find yourself in your food.
And I'm going to interrupt. And that's important, folks. These guys might say, what's the big deal? But again, people have it. My wife happens to be Jamaican, and there's a certain flavor I'm going to expect from a Jamaican meal versus an East Indian meal, even though they also use curry,
Right.
versus a Latin or a Hispanic meal. There's a different flavor format, or South Texas, whatever it may, or New England soup. People will have the preferred flavor, and may likely, when they shop or cook, will eat the preferred flavor style made up the sauces and everything that goes along with it. That's the generic flavor of it. So I can understand your focus, and we're very similar as it's coming to me as I'm talking. We're very similar. I hope people discover their ingredients that works best for them to define their secret sauce. And the people who prefer your flavor, that you represent, will say, hey, this is my go-to person. Anybody can talk about what they do, the training they've had, but you've lived your life as a legacy for who you are, the person, and you have a very clear sense of that. And I like that left brain, right brain approach. And then again, another commercial break. That first off, if you'd like to learn more about Michelle, contact her, please. She's in the discussion section of this dialogue that we're going through here. If you'd like to be a Secret Sauce Hot Seat Challenge guest, feel free to contact me. Please leave comments, because we do audit and we share back as best we can our response. Good, bad, or indifferent. Indifferent, it doesn't do much for us, but at least good or bad. We learn more from bad comments, perhaps. Remember to share this with people around you. Tell them about Michelle if you like her style, what she can offer you outside the usual customary quick order comfort meal at the local diner, something like that. So that being said, I'm going to ask you, Michelle, you'd like to have anything to take us home with as a final thought?
I like to tell people that recipes are guides. They're not rule books. They're not
Mm-hmm.
a rule book. And that and and that's similar to life. And when I teach, I give what are some of the three, I call three elements of a good cook, or traits of a good cook, and that's
Right.
knowing how to taste, discern, and adjust. So taste, taste meaning get in contact or in touch with your senses, what's pleasing to you.
Mm-hmm.
As you're cooking, continue to taste. Don't just follow the recipe. Uh, discern what's needed. What do you have in your cabinet or in your pantry, in your fridge, that might be missing from that particular recipe? and then adjust, make the necessary adjustments to make that meal what you want it to taste like. And it's the same way with life, or whether it's your career or your family. I think we're given kind of almost like step by step approaches as to like what I should do in my life to be successful or to be happy.
Hmm.
And those are kind of they're if we follow them step by step, what society says is this recipe for happiness, you might end up being getting that thing and being very unhappy
Okay.
because you're tasting someone else's recipe. Uh, and so, yeah, I like to use those same kind of traits to apply to life to gain like happiness and your own recipe for success.
Fair
So
enough.
that,
Thank you for that. And I would nuance that somewhat differently. Is what you do, perhaps how your meal turns out reflects who you are. And the better you reflect who you are, the better you'll make a distinction from the quick order store down the street. Thank you
right.
very much for being a guest. Remember to subscribe, to ask questions, to share us with other people. And please contact Michelle if you're looking for someone who's going to take you as a special person potential and give you a perspective that you want to learn about yourself. She's the go-to person versus all the other trained wellness people out there. Anyway, folks, thanks for watching. We will be back next week. And an announcement: we're now doing twice a week events, both on Monday mornings 2 to 8 for those who are familiar with that, and then Wednesdays at 1 o'clock Eastern time. Both times did it by Eastern time. My list is going into next year, and it's a little bit long. I'm getting people from different parts of the country, so working in that manner. So it's confusing perhaps, but let's keep up. Thanks again. We're running a little bit beyond our quick time. We apologize for that. Have a good one, folks. So long.